Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I have something very important to share with you, and it is some charts I've been working on for quite some time. And I do want to let everyone know that I will be taking this to a much deeper level on my predictions. When I have my predictions, you can sign up for them. December 18th, it's a Saturday, at 12 Central Standard Time, I'm going to be delivering an uncensored version, if you join this class, of what's going to be happening for 2022. Now, I'm going to be taking these charts that I'm going to be sharing with you right now to a much deeper level. I don't know how much I can actually share here, but I will share everything on my predictions. So what I want to look at is the charts for China, United States, and Xi Jinping and President Biden, because this is how I can tell what's going on with the countries, the leaders, and that equates to the future of what we can expect. And from what I'm surmising from these charts, I do think that China needs to be watched very carefully. Let me put that mildly, okay? Now remember, I want to remind everyone to go to my website if you want to sign up for this class. Go to galacticcenter.org and click on the 2022 predictions, and you can be part of this. I will have a live Q&A. Anything you want to talk about, I'll be there to discuss it with you. So with that, and one more thing before I get down into the meat of all of this, I want to remind everyone that I have a new start date for my University of Vedic Astrology. If you've been wanting to learn Vedic astrology, here is your answer. I have an entire university where you will have a live tutor. I will work with you personally, and we have live meetings every week, plus many recordings that you will take tests. And this will give you the information, everything you need to become an astrologer, a Vedic astrologer. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com, and the new start date is January 10th, 2022. So with that, let me put up the charts of what I want to discuss today. And most importantly, I think the first two charts I want to compare are Xi Jinping's chart and the United States chart. So putting these both up, you're going to see how they relate. So what I'm looking at in Xi's chart is, notice where his sun is at 0 degrees of Gemini. And notice where Mars is in the United States chart. Right exactly 0 degrees of Gemini. And with that, I think this is very telling for that Xi wants control of the United States. And on top of that, when you consider a birth chart, you're going to want to also look at, yes, the sun. The sun is going to be so important, but going back to the Mars-Sun conjunction, the sun meaning rulership, dictatorship, or I shouldn't say dictatorship, but rulership. It's the president. But Mars being on the sun, she feels like the United States is a threat to his rule. And he's going to do something about it. Now, if you'll notice, not only is the sun and Mars aligned from these charts, but also look at where Xi has his Mars. Mars is with the sun. And the fact that they're in Gemini, this guy is really a smart one. Gemini is the sign of learning, education, always stretching the mind. So, I mean, he is very well versed in everything. He knows what he's doing. But Mars being so close to his sun can make him very angry at times. And with it being in Gemini, he has his way with words. He has his way with when he becomes angry, he is going to do something to stay in control and stay in charge. But notice how his Mars hooks up over the United States, all of those planets in Gemini. Natal Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and the Sun. But more than anything, I think it's very important to take notice of where Uranus sits at 23 degrees of Gemini, smack dab on the USA's Sun at 22 degrees of Gemini. Uranus is the planet of sudden, unexpected changes, upsets, and the Sun in the United States represents our leadership. So something's about to change unexpectedly, big time. And the way these charts are aligned, they are very difficult. May I also mention that when the coronavirus came to fruition in the US, it was around February of 2020 when we realized that this was a pandemic here. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because Mars and Ketu were conjoined in Sagittarius, exactly aspecting all of those planets in Xi Jinping's chart in Gemini, plus all those planets in Gemini in the United States chart. So I believe this was a hit from China. And as I've said before, it was a terrorist attack, and it was far-reaching and deadlier and affected the world. Okay, so furthermore, if you'll compare the United States with his chart, he has a Moon Ketu conjunction in Cancer. And it sits close to the ascendant, but it's actually behind the ascendant, but that sits very close to the Rahu Mercury in the 8th house in the USA chart. So you see how this is all lined up. The 8th house deals with deep, dark secrets. Ketu is losses. The fact that Ketu sits on Rahu and Rahu sits on Ketu from these charts is indicating that there is something of a dark nature of a connection. And you see, the United States is the leader in the world in terms of money exchange. Well, the 8th house deals with big money, money from everything, money from everywhere. And you know, this is going to be a huge event that he's trying to take over the control of the financial reign in the world. And he's after the United States. So I don't know how much further I can go with this, because I'm sure, you know, this is going to be seen all over the world and I don't want to be in trouble. But furthermore, I want you to know, going back to just looking at the United States and pulling up Joe Biden's chart. So let's look at Joe Biden's chart and the United States comparatively. If you will notice, Joe Biden has his K2 at 7 degrees of Aquarius. And look at the United States moon, 7 degrees Aquarius. Now that's a big deal. And what's really going on, which has come to surface and passing right now, is where Rahu and Ketu have been around 7 to 6 degrees of Taurus Scorpio. Okay, Taurus Scorpio. Look at that. They are right there. And It's creating a grand cross where Rahu and Ketu are squaring. Both the Rahu and Ketu in Joe Biden's chart, and they are, because his Rahu and Ketu sit at 7 degrees of Leo Aquarius, and in the transit in the heavens right now, they're at 7 degrees of Taurus Scorpio. So an exact square. This is a wake up. But not only that, the fact that the United States moon is where Ketu is, there's some kind of loss. Ketu represents losses for the United States that's incurring due to what's going on in Joe Biden's chart. Now, in January, transiting Jupiter will come up and hit that degree mark. And when it does, that will be very significant in terms of the whole outlook of the media and what they report. I believe the truth's going to come out. The absolute truth. Why do I say that? Because if you consider where the moon is in the United States chart, it's in the 3rd house. And the 3rd house rules communications and the media. And let me just say this, the media is the most powerful force in the world. I mean, face it, if the media is able to ban the president, Donald Trump, then you know it's more powerful than the president, who was said to be the most powerful person in the world, but it's not true. It's the media. So with Jupiter hitting Ketu, what is going to happen in Joe Biden's chart and for the United States chart? It has to be that something that has been hidden will be revealed, and it has to involve Joe Biden, because this is in his chart. There's no other way to see this. Now, there's one more thing, and this, by the way, will happen when Jupiter will be 7 degrees of Aquarius sitting on Biden's Ketu and the United States moon. This means a big loss, and this occurs January 5th. Be aware, something's due to happen around that time. Sometimes it doesn't happen dead on the day, but it happens around that time. The planets are in transit. So now I want to compare the chart of China with the United States chart, and you're going to see how these charts truly align in what they're telling us. So putting up the chart for China, and the next one is going to be the United States again. And if you'll look where Ketu is in the chart for China. Ketu sits at 23 degrees of Virgo. Now remember, Ketu is losses. And anytime you have Rahu and Ketu combined in any way, it always deals with some type of karmic issue or some kind of destiny issue. So Ketu sits at 23 degrees of Virgo and Rahu sits at 23 degrees of Pisces. Plug it into the United States chart. Saturn sits in the 10th house at 24 degrees of Virgo. So Ketu aligns with Saturn. And Saturn in the United States chart is in the 10th house of the government and leadership. So this means that China is definitely at odds with the United States, and there are many, many things that are going on with the Chinese that we don't know, and I don't pretend to know either. All I know is we don't know. And we know that they are up to something. Now, I think I'm going to have to end this because I'm going to save the rest for last, going to my class on the December 18th, where we can analyze this in greater detail without being censored in any way. So with that, here's what I want you to surmise out of this analysis, that the United States has some enemies, and the one that I think that needs to be further investigated and to be on a lookout with is China. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, if you would like to take my classes, first go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org, and check out my beautiful spiritual jewelry. Sign up for my free newsletter. And if you want to learn Vedic astrology, go to my university website, which is universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.